I'm Blair Best, and tonight on The Story, we begin outside the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement building in Portland, where protests have been ongoing for about a week now. This comes after several asylum seekers have been arrested in Portland, and rallies, both across the country and locally, are set for this weekend. Now today, Portland city leaders spoke out against these federal immigration efforts while calling for peaceful protest. And it's our big story tonight. Friday morning, the protest continued outside the ICE building in downtown Portland.
I've been here a couple days now, and we will be here all weekend.
So far, federal immigration officers have detained 4 asylum seekers in Portland after their immigration court hearings, and 2 more people were detained Thursday in Newberg, according to a Yamhill County commissioner.
Yesterday, Alondra came out from ICE building crying, and we all hugged her here, so we're a very peaceful protest. And her dad was taken in Newberg on his way to work.
Brianna Nathaniels says she's friends with the man's daughter.
He just opened up a vineyard, his own business, this year.
Brianna says he was taken to the ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington.
Ruining families unnecessarily, like he was a dad. It's sick, it's awful.
Across the city,
we have quite a robust lineup of speakers.
Local officials condemned these federal efforts.
Right now, communities in this country and across Multnomah County are under direct attack from a federal administration that is hostile to the values that we hold dear.
This is not a theoretical harm. This is a harm happening right here, right now, to families in our community, and it is not acceptable.
Our officers will not be used as agents of ICE. And when we see federal abuse, we will bring it to light, we will take action, and take the fight to federal courts where we will win.
Their message comes as thousands are expected to rally across Oregon and Southwest Washington Saturday, part of a nationwide anti-Trump protest called No Kings. The events coincide with a military parade in D.C. and President Trump's 79th birthday.
Peacefully show up and protest against these mass deportations.
We must not let this federal bullying scare us from exercising our right to free speech.
Amid support for a peaceful protest,
please stand together. That is how we will defend our communities.
Officials also send this warning.
Violence, destruction, and obstruction carry consequences.
We are going to be engaged, whether it be today or tomorrow. We will be out and about. We will have teams.
As a district attorney, I'm here to tell those who would engage in chaos, vandalism, and violence, there's no free pass. That doesn't exist under this administration.
This week, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem had this to say about those who interfere with federal agents.
Those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them.
Thursday night, 10 people were arrested outside the Portland ICE building for arson and disorderly conduct, among other offenses. District Attorney Nathan Vasquez says they will be prosecuted.
If you assault someone, if you burn things, if you decide to break things, you're going to deal with me.
Today, Portland Police Chief Bob Day also made it clear, given Portland is a sanctuary city, his officers do not engage with immigration enforcement. Portland Police have maintained a presence outside the ICE facility, though, and will continue to do so. Chief Day says he is in constant communication with ICE.
I spoke with them yesterday, and they do not share specific information with me in terms of their operations, which is their prerogative, but I am in regular communication with them. So I do not know what they have or have not been doing in the state, but just know that those lines of communication are open, as well as directly with the employees that are in the facility down there. We're in regular communication with them as well.
And in a statement, Governor Tina Kotek said today, "Please know I will do everything in our power to protect the rights and safety of our residents, including the rights and safety of our immigrant communities. Violence, harm to public safety workers, destruction of property, or any illegal activity whatsoever will not be tolerated. State and local law enforcement have my full support to hold individuals who cross these lines accountable." John Adams is in Newberg tonight, where again 2 people were detained this week. So John, you talked with a neighbor of one of the people taken into custody. What'd she tell you?
Yeah, Blair, that is right. The neighbor, who is actually the co-owner of this Mexican restaurant right behind me here in Newberg, tells me her neighbor Moises Sotelo was taken into custody sometime on Thursday morning. Here's what she told me.
I talked to other family members that they told me that he is in Tacoma right now, and he works for a winery in the area, and he's been a trusted person there, and you know, everybody loves him, and he has a lot of family around here too. So it's very sad to hear that. It just happened literally 3 houses away from mine, and I wasn't able, of course, to do something, but at the same time, it was like we just also putting ourselves in, you know, and not in that danger, you know, just in case.
And you can really see it there, John, but you know, I imagine this has a ripple effect on the community. So how are people feeling out there tonight?
Blair, that's absolutely right. Members of the Hispanic community here feel scared and fearful of what might happen next, worried that they could possibly be detained by ICE, and they're concerned that ICE may detain them whether or not, no matter what their immigration status is or whether they are a citizen or not. Now, I also spoke with Miriam's daughter, who is a student here at the local middle school. She described to us what happened during their last day of school yesterday.
Our teachers were being supportive. One of our science teachers printed out like a paper with our rights or what to say, what to do, who to call. Our teachers gave out numbers and stuff, so if anything happened, we could contact them. And then everyone was just crying. It was so, nobody ate lunch that yesterday, so we were just outside trying to calm ourselves down, and then that's when it was time to go. So I was like, let's all make a circle, pray for a bit, and then go home.
John Adams, thanks so much. Let's get a check now on the Rowena fire burning just west of the Dalles. The fire grew overnight to 3,800 acres. Nearly 50 homes have been destroyed, and firefighters expect that number to grow. The fire is still 0% contained. Devin Haskins is in Rowena for us with the very latest. Devin, what are you seeing?
Yeah, right now the winds pretty strong as they've been since this fire started on Wednesday afternoon. The fire crews trying to still get a handle on the Rowena fire. As you said, the fire slightly growing overnight from 3,500 acres, what we reported on yesterday, to about 38 or just over 3,800 acres today. Yesterday we talked to homeowners that had lost their home, but we didn't know exactly how many homes had been lost. Today, the Wasco County Sheriff's Office giving us a confirmed number of 49 homes that have burnt down. They say multiple outbuildings as well. They don't have an exact number on those outbuildings, but so far, as I said, 49 homes confirmed burned, and they do expect that number to rise as this fire continues to burn.
Terrible, a lot of people suffering. So what have you been hearing from firefighters? I mean, will they be able to get this fire contained anytime soon?
Yeah, they're confident on that. Right now, this is still the beginning part of it. So that 0% containment, while that is alarming that it's at 0%, they say that's just because they don't have that hard containment line around it, and that containment line hasn't, it needs to hold before they can kind of securely say that they have that containment line built up. They do expect that number though to increase though over the weekend, especially as these winds die down. They're able to get a better handle on it and get more of a line around it. And keep in mind, you have the freeway to the north side of this fire and the river even beyond that as well. So there is a hard containment line, I guess if you want to call it that, with the freeway there right now.
And before we let you go, are people still evacuated?
Yeah, the Sheriff's Office has lowered some evacuation numbers in the level 3 zone from about just over 800 to just under 600, so a couple hundred. And they said they were able to get those 200 to 300 people back into their homes, but there still are about 3,800 people under evacuation orders here in Wasco County.
Okay, Devin Haskins in Rowena for us tonight. Devin, thank you. Well, let's go now to Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino. Matt, what kind of conditions are the firefighters dealing with?
All right, Blair, thanks very much. It has been a very, very windy afternoon and early evening. Looking out at the Dalles right now, you can see the smoke out there. The wind still gusting over 35 miles an hour. But the good news is it's going to begin to back off as we go into the late night hours. Still gusting up around 20, 25 miles an hour until we get after midnight. But in the early morning hours, the wind gusts will back all the way down below 20 miles an hour. That's great news. That gives the fire a chance to lay down a bit and the firefighters a chance to do even more work. And then tomorrow, it's actually more good news. Even though the gusts come back up to about 20 to 25, this is hour by hour wind gust forecast for the Dows. It's not getting up to 35, 40 miles an hour, which is what we've seen over the last couple of days. Here's another way of looking at it with the map, and you can see the gusts now up around the 35 mile an hour range, so they drop even below 10 miles an hour for a time in the morning before they come back up on Saturday afternoon. But again, not to quite the values that we've been seeing over the last couple of days. Now, the other impact from the fire is the smoke. This is a forecast for smoke that's from ground level only up to about 26 feet. So it's near ground level smoke, right? And where you see the reds, of course, that's where the smoke is very dense. Blue, not so thick. That's because this is in the nighttime hours, it backs off. The morning hours still pretty light, but with the heating of the day, you see that flare up. And there's also a component here, I think, from the Ferry Fire, Wasco County, impacting parts of eastern Oregon with fairly light smoke, but still smoke in the forecast east of the Cascades. Now, for the fire itself, the winds will diminish after midnight, and then tomorrow they gust, but only up to about 25 miles an hour. The winds will be lighter. Even better news on Sunday, Blair, the wind should be light, only about 5 to 10 miles an hour. So at least it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great news. Matt Safino, thanks so much.
You bet.
Well, sometimes in this job, you encounter a situation where you have to step in and help. And that was the case for our Sunrise crew this morning. While they were out in Rowena covering the fire, reporter Thomas Schultz and photographer Eric Patterson came across a burned kitten on the front porch of a home. The kitten had burn marks across his face and paws, and he was barely moving. Neighbors in the area said he was a stray. Look at that right there, my goodness. So our crew brought him to the vet, and they said the healing process will take a while, but they expect the kitten to make a full recovery. But when we come back, lawmakers have passed a ban on discriminatory book bans in Oregon. Every Democrat voted for it. Every Republican voted against it, except for one. Why a single Republican broke with his party to approve the bill. When the story returns. Well, Oregon lawmakers have passed a bill that would essentially ban some book bans. It prohibits schools from banning books if that ban is discriminatory. Senate Bill 1098 prohibits book bans based on the topic or the author of the book. It also sets up requirements that must be followed when a book is challenged. Now, studies show that the vast majority of books that are banned from school libraries are written by or feature people of color and those in the LGBTQ community. On the House floor this week, lawmakers say the bill is necessary because of the record number of book challenges in the past few years in Oregon. 127 books were challenged in Oregon schools and libraries last year.
This bill pushes back on attempts to assault the principles of freedom and expression and access to information. Such challenges disproportionately impact materials featuring race, racism, sexism, and LGBTQ+ identities and undermine our collective efforts to provide a culturally responsive and inclusive education. I also want to be clear. Senate Bill 1098 does not mandate what materials are being presented, but rather does not allow material to be banned within the protected criteria. Parents and guardians can still request to remove books, and school administrators are free to consider those requests.
Now in the House, the bill passed along party lines. Democrats in favor, Republicans against, except for one single Republican who voted in favor of the bill. Representative Cyrus Javidi is from the North Coast, and he said his decision to support the bill came in part from his son.
He's gay. And like a lot of kids who realize they're different before they're ready to say it out loud, he went looking for stories. Not flashy ones, not political ones, just something that helped him understand what he was feeling. Something that reminded him he wasn't the only kid trying to navigate this phase of his life. If a teacher had assigned a novel with a gay character, he would have read it. Not because he was told to, but because it might have felt like a lifeline. Books do that.
He went on to challenge his Republican colleagues and his constituents who say that some books are inappropriate.
This bill doesn't mandate a single book in any classroom. It doesn't force a reading list on any student. It doesn't tell schools what stories to choose. It tells them what not to reject. You can remove a book if the content is too graphic. You can remove it if it's not age appropriate. But you can't remove it just because the author is gay, or Muslim, or black, or because the story centers someone that makes you uncomfortable. That's not a curriculum. That's the First Amendment doing its job.
But every other Republican in the House was against the bill, including Representative Boomer Wright, who said that some books include things that some parents don't want their kids reading, and they wish the bill had included provisions on age appropriateness.
Preventing books that promote radical ideologies with regard to gender and sexuality from getting into the hands of minor children is an obligation, not an option. This bill is not in the best interest of children and families, and I will be a no on this bill in support of the children's right to learn through age-appropriate books and materials which are not politically and sexually motivated.
Okay, now under the bill, parents are still allowed to contact their kids' school and ban them individually from reading books they don't want them to have access to. The bill also passed the Senate. It now goes to Governor Kotek.
It is a privilege to care for Oregonians and one that we do not take lightly. And we are working hard to minimize impact, but changes will need to occur in order for us to continue to deliver the high quality care.
Well, turning now to the latest in a series of changes affecting one of Oregon's largest healthcare providers. That's Providence Health. They announced this week they will be laying off a total of 600 employees across 7 states. Now, this decision impacts 134 people here in Oregon, including some union members. Providence says most of the roles that are being cut are non-clinical administrative positions, though some patient care roles are also impacted.
We have been working hard over the past several years, prioritizing patients over our revenues. And we've seen a net operating loss of $162 million over the past 3 years. That's certainly unsustainable. And as we look to the future, and more cuts probably on the horizon with changes at the federal government, it's more than ever important for us to get our revenues and expenses into alignment.
Well, that was Jennifer Burrows, the CEO for Providence, Oregon. She says several factors have led to the restructuring decision, including state laws around staffing levels, underfunded Medicaid programs, and diminishing insurance contributions.
If you're in the commercial market, you are seeing your bills increase, and we're seeing premiums increase. And we have for a long time seen a cost shifting that when the government payers, Medicaid, Medicare, pay under what it costs us to care for patients, that those dollars get offset in the commercial market. And that just is reaching kind of a breaking point as we continue to see erosion in government funding.
Now, the Oregon Nurses Association said the layoffs are going to hurt patients. In a statement, they said, at a time of unprecedented attacks on our healthcare system from the federal government, especially for rural Oregonians, Providence should be working to help solve the problem, not inflaming it. Adding their decision to reduce frontline caregivers in rural Oregon while protecting executive salaries and profits is a deliberate choice, not a financial necessity.
I don't know what to think. I just think that it's very unfair.
Well, continuing this theme here, that's the message from a healthcare worker at Peace Health Southwest Medical Center in Vancouver, Washington this week. These photos shared with the story team are from a small protest that staff held inside the hospital. On May 22nd, Peace Health announced that starting June 21st, they're making a 1% workforce reduction, including eliminating some caregiver roles and closing some open positions. Rhonda Ferrier, who has been a CNA since 1978, is part of that 1%.
Well, we got notification on May 22nd that our program is going away and we're all being laid off.
For the past 3 years, Rhonda has worked as a mobility aide, helping patients with daily activities like brushing their teeth and walking.
It's going to hugely impact patient because we did a study that proved that mobility or mobilizing patients shortened their length of stay, so they got home quicker. I don't feel valued at all, and our work isn't valued, I don't think.
Okay, along with eliminating mobility aides like Rhonda, the hospital is cutting supply chain specialists like Samuel Roberts. Now, he makes sure nurse stations and medicines are fully stocked.
Those stations up there can get a little chaotic anyway, and so that's what they're doing, is trying to keep it organized for the nurses to spend more time with the patients. So I think it's a direct correlation that they're going to have less time one-on-one with the patient. Because my reaction when I heard this news was frustration and confusion, because I went through orientation on April 1st, and so I'm real new to all of this, and I was laid off May 22nd.
A spokesperson for Peace Health told KGW that no one on the management team was available to talk on camera, but they sent the following statement instead, and it reads in part, Peace Health announced reductions to its workforce on May 22nd after months of discernment, financial analysis, and a thorough review of the dynamic healthcare market. We are making a 1% reduction in our workforce of 16,000 caregivers system-wide. Now, for those caregivers represented by a union that were impacted by the reduction, we are following the bargaining process. Okay, we often get emails from people who complain that we have too much coverage of the homeless crisis. And we've said before, we cover it so much because it routinely shows up as the #1 issue people around here care about. Well, that is the case in Clackamas County too, according to a new community survey. Homelessness and poverty is the #1 issue there. 400 people were surveyed. 23% said it was their top of mind issue, ahead of the economy, crime, and the environment. Also, over the past 2 years, concern about traffic has started to spike from only 2% to 11%. But worries about crime have fallen from 19% in 2023 to 12% in 2025. And here's something interesting. The respondents were also asked how they get their news. Most of them said from good old-fashioned TV news, more than 30%. In fact, the survey found for those that get their news from TV, KGW is their first choice. Obviously, we love to see that. So thank you, Clackamas County, and be sure to email us any and all of your story ideas. And on that note, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. If you ever miss an episode of The Story, we re-air it at 6:30, or at 8:30 rather, and 10:30 on our TV app, KGW+. Have a great weekend. I'm off next week, but stay tuned. We've got great content coming your way.